Welcome back guys, another NVM vlog, and in this vlog we got this brand new Audi RS3 in for some bolt-ons and tuning. So to release the potential of any RS3 or Audi RS engine, you need a few components. We've got a carbon fibre intake with inlet elbow from Forged Motorsport. We've got a front mount intercooler, and we've got a sports downpipe as well. We're going to upgrade the spark plugs on these to the NGK racing plugs, get all these kind of fitted, do some base runs on the dyno, show you the difference in terms of intake temperatures and stuff, and then build it up from there. So a lot of our customers are complaining about the latest models in TTRS and RS3. So let's have a listen as to what they're complaining about. So as you probably heard from there, not as loud as the Dazza vehicles, so the early ones up to 2018, but full exhaust system, sports system can improve that sound massively. And we can also mess with the settings in the ECU to increase a bit of overrun as well. So that's the bolt-ons going onto the vehicle. One of the key notes is we take the panel off from behind the bumper grille itself for maximum airflow to the intercooler and also the radiators. It's so important to get these cars as cool as possible, especially on the dyno and the road. So once we've done with the dyno tuning, we actually take it out on the road and data log intake temperatures, fueling and everything else to make sure that it's as consistent in a controlled environment as it is out there too. We have covered this in a couple of other vlogs that we've done, but that's the stock intercooler and that's the Forged Motorsport one. It's about 50% more surface area thanks to the modified crash bar that comes with the kit, and about 100% bigger than the original. This equates to about 30-degree drop in temperatures when we're tuning for a stage 2 level of power. So stock intercooler, stock elbow is off. Obviously it runs a standard paper element with a little bit of a foam lining. You can probably see there's a white patch there that equates to the flap that's internal in the airbox, which opens at different temperatures. It's a self-proclaimed copper spring mechanism. The actual elbow itself isn't the best design, and it can restrict in throttle response and overall peak power. Within the casing you can see the ridges. That's where the Forged Motorsport one comes in handy, especially when going bigger turbo. With the stock turbocharger it helps with throttle response and overall power at peak cylinder pressures too. The actual intake itself is a foam coned intake with the aluminium 90mm intake pipe, and it's surrounded by carbon fibre to reduce any heat soak on back-to-back runs. So we'll get all this fitted and then put it on the dyno and see what we can achieve. So that's all the parts fitted and bolted to the vehicle. It's now dyno time. As with all RS3s, we put the car in dyno mode to reduce any sort of stress to the Haldex system on the rear. There's no point in running these cars in four-wheel drive permanently because it is a Haldex system, meaning that it runs the front-wheel drives until there's slip and then chucks in a bit of power to the rear. So when we tune a vehicle, we spend over kind of 3 to 4 hours, and it makes no sense doing that constantly on a semi-permanent four-wheel drive system. It's quite simple to do. You just jump in, ignition goes on, wait for all the lights to go out, stick on the hazards, pump the accelerator. Now the car's in dyno mode, so that'll allow us to do repeated tests on the front wheels without any concerns. So that's a completely stock dyno pull, and it's just run 400 brake horsepower, 519 newton meters, which is about right for what they make from standard, from factory. We can see through the data log system, so it's running into component protection as it gets to about 6,000 RPM, so it chucks in loads of fuel, and that's because of the bolt-ons equating for a bit more boost pressure, so it's trying to control the amount of power output from the vehicle. So we're just going to put a base calibration in there, just a 1.4 bar of boost, and see how it reacts. These latest vehicles create a bit more engine noise than the earlier Dazza vehicles, so we'll monitor it carefully before we add the boost. We'll go through the software as well and show you what we do. So looking at the data log, as we said before, at about 6,000 RPM, the actual throttle body closes, and that's because the increase in flow from the turbo elbow intake and the intercooler, reducing the charge temps, actually creates overboost, and that overboost is governed by the ECU. So as soon as it sees it, it closes the throttle body. So the guys out there thinking, add this part, that part, you know, this intercooler, that intake would add loads of power. It actually doesn't on majority of vehicles, and the RS3 especially, because the ECU is very advanced. At about 6,000 RPM, it goes from full throttle to about 30% throttle to reduce that overall power. So when it comes to tuning, we actually increase the boost threshold. So if it does slightly increase more than target, it ain't going to close the throttle body, and it'll give a nice average power and torque. So let's see what we can achieve with some calibration. So with the gearbox mapped with the increased torque limiters and changing up the shift timings, which we'll get into on the road test, we're seeing a peak of about 1.6 bar of boost, which is allowed for about 494 brake horsepower. These later vehicles, the actual knock detection is increased, so it doesn't allow as much timing, so we've got to do some calibration to change the fueling and such above a certain RPM. But nonetheless, we're in the right path, so we'll carry on, increase a bit more timing and fueling, and see what we can achieve today. So a few final calibrations going on now. One of the key points on the RS3 is the exhaust. I don't know if you heard it in the first dyno run, but the exhaust valves are closed permanently until 4,000 RPM, so it's a funny sound on the changeover, and it reduces peak torque. So we've opened them up in dynamic mode for any RPM. We've also reduced cold start RPM as well, so when it starts up in the morning, it ain't going to wake up your neighbours. And there's a few other calibration points that we're going to go through in a bit, but this is the final run, so let's see what we can achieve. So guys, final results today, NVM Stage 2 ECU and DSG mapping, DNWA engine, stock exhaust system with the intercooler and intake with the turbo elbow. We're at 516 horsepower, 720 newton meters of torque. That's almost 120 brake horsepower gain with 200 newton meters as well. If you have a look at the delta gain, nice smooth torque graph, nice smooth power graph, hardly any time and pull on there. We could take this further with a bit of octane booster and even a full exhaust system, but nonetheless a savage result. We'll go through a few key points within the ECU software and the calibration that we've done specific to this vehicle and take it from there. So looking through the data log, we can see a bit of time and pull at the top end, and this is known for the DNWA engine. In comparison to the Dazzers, we don't see as much engine noise. Yes, with this vehicle, we could probably put a full exhaust system on there with a straight through free flow system, and that will aid another 15 to 20 horsepower. We can add octane boosters, but looking at the ECU, we can make some compensations for the knock produced from the engine. We're not going to overly do it, especially on a car that's stage 2 with stock exhaust system. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. We have covered some elements in a previous vlog, but this was more to do with the DNWA engine itself. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next vlog.